Hello, my name is Kathleen Taylor, and I am a Chinese medicine practitioner. I have been practicing since 2001, so for 25 years now. And I do a form of bodywork called Ama therapy, which is super fabulous. We treat down the energetic pathways of the body. If you've ever seen an acupuncture chart, I treat down those lines and stop on those dots. Pretty simple. But today we're going to talk about, and just to give you a basic introduction to the Chinese medicine and what it is. Over the 25 years that I've been practicing, I have been able to incorporate some of these things and just really work through what I can for my own health, and then also help facilitate others in their healing process. So you're welcome to take notes. You're also welcome to just watch and rewatch this. It's a free video, so you can check it out and see what works for you and come back to it again and again. So we're going to start off with wholism versus reductionism. So there's two thought processes in medicine, and one is a holistic idea and one is a reductionistic idea. And holism is based in the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and that the best approach to health incorporates all four aspects of the person: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body. And when we work with all four, we have that idea. The primary aim is to increase what is right and not to attack what is wrong. In reductionism, the idea is that in order to understand something, one must reduce it to smaller and smaller parts, to cut out, take out, remove, and look at it in a smaller idea. This was originated with 16th century French mathematician René Descartes, and he believed that human beings are machines separate from nature, and the primary aim is to attack the disease. Now, the tricky part with this is that when someone presents with something, they don't always look at the whole body, and so it'll show up as one thing, but the root is over here. And if you look at a tree, like an apple doesn't look like the roots, and so we always want to make sure that we're following the path and seeing where things came from. So a little bit more with holism and reductionism. In holism, we believe in mind-body unity, that the mind and the body work together and need to function as such. And in reductionism, there's a dichotomy. We split it apart, we separate the two, we either work on the mind or we either work on the body, but either one or the other. And sometimes, in a lot of Western medicine, we have ignored the mind for a long time. And just in the last 10 years or so, it's been more of a focus on the mind, but it's still separate from the body. And in holism, it's the mind and body are united. Holism uses a lot of mostly non-invasive therapies, whereas Western is pretty invasive. We dig in, we cut out, we probe and poke and do a lot of things. In holism, it's kind of interchangeable, Asian medicine and Western medicine, so I'm going to kind of get them as I speak. But with holism, there's little iatrogenic diseases, and iatrogenic diseases are when it is a practitioner-caused problem. A lot of times we pick up stuff when we get to the hospital. And it is actually one of the leading causes of disease and death in America is iatrogenic diseases. So in holism, we seek the underlying cause, the root cause of it. And in reductionism, we just want to suppress the symptoms. We don't necessarily look for where they came from or why they came. We just take care of the symptom. It's pretty symptom-based. In holism, it is a patient responsibility. The patient is responsible for leading the way. They're responsible for checking in and paying attention to what's happening to them. In reductionism, we are very dependent on the doctor to tell us what's wrong with us and what's going on and where we should fix things. In holism, it's do as I do. So I'm out there, I'm doing the things, I'm journaling, I'm eating congee, I'm not drinking with my food, those are things that I do. And then in reductionism, it's do as I say, not as I do. And this is the classic one when the doctor told you not to smoke and then went out on a smoke break, right? It was like, well, smoking's not good for you, but I can get away with it, which is true. You probably could for a little bit longer, but also it's just that theory of do as I say and not as I do. With holism, we look at the energy system is primary in the study of holism. You're really focusing on movement in the body. And in reductionism, the energy system isn't even acknowledged. In the last 5 years, they have started to acknowledge it, but it is still very separate from everything else that's going in the body. The energy is kind of just like an afterthought. In holism, we focus on prevention. We don't want the situation to come up, so we work on really what we can do to not be in that position in the first place. And then with reductionism, we work on intervention. Something happened and we fix it. And so we kind of wait until it shows up on a scan. A lot of times we'll go in and we'll feel off. We'll feel like something's not happening, something's not working right, but it's not showing up on the scan yet, so there's nothing wrong. And so we have to actually be bad enough to have something taken care of in the reductionistic society. In wholism, we work on wellness. We're wellness based, and in reductionism, it is crisis based. And we're super thankful that they are very good at crisis based situations. In holism, healing is a process. It's a journey. It's something that we do for like our lifetime. We work on it for our whole lifetime. Reductionism looks for that quick fix. So we want the pill. We want the microwave society. We want to be able to take care of it right now. And holism really shines with chronic health situations, with things that you're born with, things that you live with your whole life. It's a chronic situation, whereas reductionism really shines with trauma and life-saving interventions. So if you get in a car accident, don't come see me. Go to your doctor, get the bone placed, and we'll work on clearing the energy and healing it after that. Okay, all forms of medicine are valuable and integratable, and hopefully we can learn to work in the system of both of them and find what's best for us in that system. In Chinese medicine, there are 8 limbs of Chinese medicine. So you can draw a little tree and the trunk says Chinese medicine, and then there's 8 branches or limbs that go off of there. And the first 5 are things that you do yourself. You don't need another human, and maybe even 6 you can do yourself. But the first ones are for your own personal journey in your health and what you can do. The first one is meditation. And there are a couple different ways to meditate, and lots of different people out there that will do guided meditations and different things. But it's really learning to sit with yourself. It's learning to sit and feel what you feel inside your body, what you feel inside of your mind, how things are working, how you're processing, what's going on. And this isn't the over contemplation, the rumination, the spleen damaging overthinking. This is the calm, peaceful, just feel it. Just allow it to be there and feel it. The second thing is exercise. And this is from a mind-body perspective. This isn't cardio. This isn't kickboxing. This is Tai Chi, Qigong. It's also weight-bearing exercises are really beneficial. So that's what we're looking at here. And exercise with Tai Chi, you're so focused on the way that your body is standing and your posture and everything that's going on. It's a beautiful, it's called meditative movement. And so because you're so focused on keeping things in alignment, you don't have time to think about the bills or what's for dinner or who said what to you 3 weeks ago or when you were 7 or anything like that. And so it puts you into a meditative state that allows for your body to help flow and move. And so Tai Chi and Qigong are fantastic. If you have something in your area, I highly encourage you to start practicing it. There's lots of stuff online. You can Google Tai Chi. The Yang form is pretty popular. A lot of people know that one. And I will also start offering a couple of videos to just kind of get you the basics of stuff that's going on. Number 3 is diet and tonic herbs. So from a nutrition standpoint in Chinese medicine, we don't look at calories, we don't look at macro and micronutrients, we don't look at vitamins and herbs for right now. We're just going to look at the flavor of the food, the direction of the food, and the temperature of the food. And this is post-digestive. So what the food does to your body after you digest it. And so every food has a temperature. It's either cold, cool, neutral, warm, or hot. And it has a temperature that was a temperature. It has a direction. So it either goes up or down or in or out. And then it has a flavor. So you've got sweet, salty, pungent, sour, and bitter. And those flavors are important for the organ systems that we'll talk about in a little bit. So what the food does in your body after you digest it is the diet that we're looking for, the nutritional quality that we're looking for. For instance, if you have liver qi stagnation and the liver's not moving, it's not doing what it needs, it likes sour green foods. So a green apple is perfect to get that liver moving around and taking care of what it needs to do. If it is summertime and it's pretty hot, then a cucumber is a cold food and it helps to cool off the system. And it's also bitter, so it helps things to be moving and astringing. And then these are also in number 4 with diet and tonic herbs. These are the herbs that are going to help build your system, that are going to just kind of fortify and nutrient-dense food herbs. There we go. Number 4 is astrology, to know thyself. So this is the I Ching. This is the Bagua. I said that wrong, Bagua. And it is really important to know who you are. In the I Ching can be confusing. Human design has been based on the I Ching, and so that is a little bit more user friendly for people to see. But it is important to know what you tend to react to, what you tend to be like. How you show up in the world is really important to understand. And so it's on this list of things that you can reference, and you can research and do what you need to do. Number 5 is geomancy. And geomancy is a study of your environment. Now, as we study Chinese medicine, and you see that we diagnose with hot and damp, if you have cold and damp as your diagnosis, then, and you live in Seattle in a basement, it's going to be really tricky for you to dry up those symptoms when it's raining every day and you live in a basement. But if you also, on the flip side, if you live in Arizona and it's hot and it's summer and you have a dry, hot condition in your body, it's going to be really hard to cool that and moisten it when you live in the desert and it's 120 degrees. And so learning about your specific diagnosis and what's going on inside of your body, but then also being aware of the environment around you and being aware of what air conditioning does to our system, being aware of what standing outside in the 110 degrees does to our system, and just being aware of the environment that you're in, the environment that you're continuously in. Maybe you need to switch jobs if you have a job where it is freezing cold and you can't warm up and you can't wear enough sweaters to keep warm, and because they have the air conditioning running all the time, or because you work in a meat locker and it's freezing cold, right? So really paying attention to those kinds of things can help benefit your health before you even go to a practitioner or see anybody. The 6th thing is body work. And this is where practitioners like myself come into play. Again, I do aromatherapy, which treats down the energetic systems. I do fire cups. I do gua sha, which is scraping. I do ear seeds. I do moxibustion. So having somebody to do body work on you is very beneficial to helping keeping the system flowing and moving. And then you can also do self massage. So that is something that the first 6 you can do yourself, or you can start incorporating a bodywork or a practitioner. The 7th is herbs. These are medicinal herbs. These are herbs that are going to be treating a specific pathogen or disease pattern. You have these are Chinese formulas. You have Xiaoya Wan, which is free and easy wanderer. You have Gui Pi Tong. I always kind of wiggles that one. That's to restore the spleen. So you have these little formulas that are done through Chinese medicine with Chinese medicinal herbs that are going to help different systems in your body to go forward. And then the 7th or the 8th thing that we do is acupuncture. Now, acupuncture is fantastic. So if you go into the acupuncturist, you can see results. The body will not necessarily hold the results as effectively if you have done nothing before that. So 1 through 5, but especially adding 6, are things that you can do at home. You can work on your own. You can Google them on YouTube. You can Google them anywhere. And you can figure out, you can get books, you can talk to a practitioner. There are a lot of practitioners will do online consultations and help you work through some things. But you can find out those information on your own. And you need to be working on those things on your own and at yourself. Like we talked about with wholesome, it is the patient responsibility for you to do 1 through 5 and sometimes 6 at home on your own. And then when you meet with a practitioner who's a body worker or an herbalist or an acupuncturist, then what they offer you is going to be that much better because you've done this great foundational work to take care of what you need to take care of so that they can step in and help you get things back. And you will actually work with a practitioner less if you're consistent with those 1 through 5 and doing the things that you need to do at home. And so then you can just go in and do a check-in versus an overhaul. And we as practitioners, we love it. We love it when the people come in and have done their work because it is so much easier to help them to move to the next level and to get more out of what they've been doing at home with the body work and the things that we do and stuff. So in Chinese medicine, there are 8 sources of disease, and these are yin and yang, internal and external, hot and cold, excess and deficient. So this is what your diagnosis is going to look like. It's going to look like spleen qi deficiency. Okay, so we're focusing on the spleen, we're focusing on the qi, and it's deficient. You're going to have liver fire rising. So you focus on the liver, the fire is rising up. You've got some hot. Okay, those are pretty simple as far as what hot and cold mean, and internal and external excess deficiency. So we're going to go into yin and yang, and the principles of yin and yang are super fun. You've seen the yin-yang symbol, the little black and white swimming fish. Some people say yang, we say yang, tomato, tomato, right? So yin and yang, the little black and white fish. So yin is the black portion of that. And yin is dense, it's nourishing, it is quiet, it's calm, it's the physical aspect of something. And then yang is bright, it's moving, it's out, it's up, it's alive, it's just big. And so yin and yang are never separated. They're always together and they're defined by each other. So something is yang in relation to something else. It's all related, okay? So there's two aspects, the yin and the yang. They are further, everything can be further divided into something yin and yang, which we'll go over in a minute. And they mutually create each other. If you're familiar with the symbol, the big part comes down and there's a tiny little dot of it, and it'll, as soon as it gets to its peak, it'll start going into the other, and then it'll just they transform one another. And at the peak, it's got a dot of the other one, which helps it to transform. So they control one another and they transform at the extreme point. So, for instance, day is yang to night, which is more yin. Awake is yang compared to sleeping, which is yin. The air is yang to the earth, which is more dense and quiet and nourishing, right? But then you also have layers. So for instance, the ground would be yin to the atmosphere, which would be yang. But then outer space is even more yang than so then the atmosphere would be yin to outer space, which would be yang. Ice, water, the water cycle. You've got ice would be the most yin because it's the most dense and compact, and then it melts into water, which is more yin, so or more yang. Gotta pay attention to what I'm saying. So ice is yin, water is yang, but water is yin to evaporated atmosphere, which is yang. So you have within it, it can be further done. The further divisions also work with daytime. Daytime is yang. The whole day is yang, but noon is the most yang point of the day. And then nighttime is yin, and then midnight is the most yin. And it starts after midnight, it starts to turn to day again. Do you see how the day-night cycle works really well for visualizing what this looks like? So two things can exist at the same time, and that's okay, and we can roll with that. In Chinese medicine, the organs have organ systems. So you have your organ proper, you have your heart, your lungs, your liver, your gallbladder, all of the things, but then there's a channel that the energy, the qi, runs down. And energy is a really bad word to translate qi into. Qi is life force, also a bad word to diagnose it. We just don't have a word in the English language that can really say what qi is. So the picture in Chinese is the bowl, the rice, and the steam coming off of it. And the qi is the bowl, it's the rice, it's the steam, it's all of it. It's just everything. And so there's more physical forms of qi and there's more ethereal forms of qi. And so we just roll with that concept. But the yang organs in... No, we're going to start with yin. Every organ has a yin-yang pair. And the yin organs, they produce, they transform, they regulate, and they store fundamental substances like qi, zhi, jing, shen, and fluids. They store and do not drain. They are involved with the function of the homeodynamic balance of both physical and spirituality. So, a lot of times we're looking for balance, we're looking for homeostasis in our health, and that's kind of false. That is very false, not kind of, it's very false, because you're never just a straight line. And if you look at a heartbeat monitor, you don't want to be a straight line. That's a bad idea. So we look for homeodynamic is the word that we like to use, because We ebb and we flow. We come and we go. We are up and we're down. And we don't want it to be big fluctuations, but we want it to have some dynamic ability to it. And so that dynamic ability helps us to have that vitality. And the yin organs are involved with that. They're the solid organ opposed to a hollow organ, and they continuously function, and they're thicker. So some of the ones that the yin organs are the lung, the spleen, the heart envelope, which we can talk about in a minute, and the liver. Those are the yin organs. Again, they're solid opposed to hollow. They continuously function. And they store and do not drain, and they're involved with the function of homeodynamic balance, both physically and spiritually, and they produce, transform, regulate, and store fundamental substances of qi, zhi, jing, shen, and all the other fluids. Okay, now we have the yang organs. The yang organs receive, they break down, they absorb the part of food that will be transformed into fundamental substances. They transport and excrete the unused portions. They drain, they do not store. They receive food or the product of food and pass it along in the system. And they are not constantly in use. They rest, and they need to rest. And so we want to make sure that we're living so that we can have that rest space. So the yang organs are the colon, the stomach, the small intestine, the bladder, the triple warmer, which is one, or the sanjiao, which is one we'll talk about in a little while, and then the gallbladder. So those are the organs, again, that are not constantly in use, that need to rest, that receive food or products of food and pass it along. They drain, they do not store. They transport and excrete the unused portions. And then they receive, break down, and absorb the part of the food that will be transformed into fundamental substances. So a really great example of this is that you've got your stomach, and your stomach is a hollow organ, and it holds the food, and so it's sitting there, and it receives it, and then it starts to break it down and absorbs part of it in the colon, right? So you got your stomach, it's receiving the food, and it's absorbing some of it, but the spleen is its yin pair that is involved in the function of transforming it, regulating it, and to move through the system. So one thing that we teach is that your stomach and your spleen working together. Traditionally, like in America, we have pretty bad spleens. We have spleen qi deficiency quite often in clients. And so we teach them that the stomach is the pot that sits on the stove. And you put your soup in, and the spleen is that energy. It's that fire that comes and digests the food. So it gives it that oomph to get it done. So you've got your soup, and it's just simmering. It's got that little bubble to it and boiling. And the spleen does not like to be cold, and it doesn't like to be too diluted. And so you've got that nice little simmer going on in the pot, and then you add more water to it. It stops the simmer, and the spleen has to work harder to get that fire to come back up. If you have your little soup boiling and you put ice into it, then the spleen gets a little bit angry, and it has to really work hard to get it. And so we're taxing that spleen, and we don't want to overtax the spleen. And so we encourage people to not drink with their food. And if they do need to drink with their food, that it is a room temperature to warm, and they're sipping it. They're just having sips. This is very counterculture to what we do when we have our Big Mac or our hamburger. I won't do names. We have our hamburger and our ice to drink. It's also very counterintuitive to, we have a beautiful meal and then we have ice cream at the end. So our spleen gets a little bit grumpy with that. A lot grumpy with that. But that kind of illustrates the yin-yang comparison. Another yin-yang pair are the lung and the colon. And so they will help each other with what they need to do, and the heart and the small intestine. Okay, so then we're going to go into, so that's yin-yang. It's really beautiful to just sit and ponder whether something isn't innately yin or yang. It's in comparison. Remember that comparison. And so when you look at people, you can see, oh, that person is yin to that person's yang, because this person is a little bit quieter. They're a little bit more dense. They're a little bit slower. They're just a little more contemplative. And this person is go, 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 big, big, big. And I tend to be more yang to almost everyone else. But I'm learning as I get older to live more in my yin, to live more in that. Also, if you're into feminine, masculine, yin is feminine and yang is masculine. And you can think about that. Yin is nutritive and we help, like we're the nurturers. And then yang is the go out and the hunter gatherer, get it done, make it happen. So we're kind of more the idea. And the yang, the masculine, is more of that energy force to get out there and get it done. So it turns over into lots of different areas of life, and it's super fun to just sit and watch and observe the world around you. Just do that meditation and observe the world around you and observe what's happening inside of yourself. There are times we need to be more yin, and there's times that we need to be more yang. The next section is 5-element theory. Now, the 5-element theory is fantastic. You've got the elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And within 5-element, you have lots of ways that the world can be divided up. So there's a season. I'm just going to cover a couple things really basically. We're going to go over the season, the color, the organ, the way that it presents, where it opens in the body, and then the emotion that goes along with it. And so as we talk about each one of these elements, you can see how it plays out in people around you and how it plays out in your own life. So the first element is wood, and wood is the season is spring. So right now we're in spring and the color is green, and I've got my green shirt on today. The organs are liver and gallbladder, and it opens up to the eyes, and the emotion is anger. So as we go through this and see, we want to tonify the liver and the gallbladder because they are wood elements in the springtime. That's when you're going to get your maximum benefit to helping your liver and gallbladder. So if you're looking at Chinese medicine as a lifelong journey, you're going to go through this in the seasons, in the springtime. You're going to work on your liver and your gallbladder, and you're going to eat a lot of green foods, and you're going to work on the anger, right? In the spring, the wind starts to go and the anger starts to flare up, and people get a little short-tempered because we've all had cabin fever for so long in the winter. And it just helps us to breathe and to work through those things. Now, also in Western medicine, when the eye turns yellow, it's clearly a liver problem, right? But you can also look before the eye turns yellow, which is a severe liver problem. You can see the vitality of the eyes. You can see when people have a light in their eyes, or when it's like glazed over and they're just not okay and things are rough. And we would treat the liver and the gallbladder for that. So again, we have the wood, we have the spring, it's springtime, it's green, it's the liver and the gallbladder, it's the eye, and it's anger. So those are the things that we want to look at today for the 5 elements. So the next element is fire, and fire is red. The season is summer, and the fire element actually has 4 organ systems that we work on. So you have the heart and the small intestine, and then you have the heart envelope and the triple warmer or sanjiao. Now, the heart envelope is considered this little space around the heart, and then the sanjiao is the triple warmers. You've got your upper, middle, and lower. So they don't have organs proper, but we treat them with the fire element. And then they open up to the tongue. So when we do tongue and pulse diagnosis, the overall tongue is the heart and the small intestine and the shen in general. And then we'll look at the different coatings and fissures and tremors and all of that as something separate. But the overall, how the tongue presents is a heart, small intestine thing, is a fire element, summer. And the emotion is joy. Now, this can be anything, all of these can be good or not so good, right? So the overexcitement is what we're looking for in the heart. When the heart is out of balance and the fire element is out of balance, it's just that overexcitement. This person gets really, really excited as I yawn. This person gets really, really excited about the tiniest little things, about just odd little things. Or they get, it's too big of an excitement for what's going on. It's inappropriate excitement and joy. So in balance and in healthy, then it's just proper joy. It's proper joy. And in the wood, it's okay to get angry sometimes. We need to get angry sometimes, right? But it's when we hold on to that anger, or when it's just flaring up out of a lot of stuff. You'll see people that consume copious amounts of alcohol, they will get angry really fast. Their actual face will flush up red. From their chest up will turn red, and they'll get really angry really fast. They're really violent. And that is that's showing you that liver gallbladder imbalance in the wood element. So, fire, the fire element is summer. It's red. It's the heart, the small intestine, the heart envelope, the sanjiao. It opens up to the tongue, and it is joy. The earth is the next element we're going to go over, and that is the change of the seasons, or an Indian summer. So anytime the season is moving from one to the other is a great time to tonify and work on the stomach and the spleen, which is all year round, right? Like you get to check in multiple times throughout the year. So that's really obvious, really awesome. But also, if we have an Indian summer, so that late summer but pushes that fall back a little bit, that is a very ideal time to jump in and really tonify the stomach and the spleen and work on those kinds of things. And so stomach and the spleen are the organs. Whew, I need to tap my point. And then it opens up to the nose. So when people come in with nasal cavity problems or sinus problems, a lot of allergies, then we would check the lung and the colon. Oh, I'm way off. I jumped a skim. We're on earth still. I'm sorry, we're on earth. It opens to the mouth. Opens to the mouth. So any mouth problems, any trouble opening the mouth, things of that nature, it would be the earth element, which is yellow. I think I skipped that too. Let's start earth over again. We're going to be on the earth element. It's the changing of the seasons. It's the Indian summer. It's the yellow color. And the spleen and the stomach is the yin-yang organ pair. And it opens to the mouth, and the element is worry. So these are the people that are ruminating. They're constantly worrying about, oh, what if this goes wrong? What if this happens? What if this? What if that? And they're the worriers. And that's just kind of what they tend to do. But in imbalance, it's excessive worrying. Now we're going to go to metal. Metal is the autumn, and it is white. So we're looking at that color. The lung and the colon are the yin-yang organ pair for the metal element, and that opens up to the nose. So now we're looking at people that have nasal problems, a lot of allergies through the sinus capacities. The lung is also in charge of opening and closing the pores, and so we're looking at those kinds of things, and lung and colon is going to be a metal imbalance. And then the emotion for metal is grief, and you can hear this in people when they are experiencing a death of a loved one, or a death of a relationship, a breakup or a divorce, or they move and they're in that transition where they're grieving their old life and not quite into their new life yet. That grief will come up, and it will affect that metal element, and the lung and the colon will be affected. And so just as you're talking to people and you're working through things, you can see different ways to help and to treat and to work on things. And then yourself, being aware that protecting when you know you're going through grief, protecting the lung. So I had an experience. I was 8 months pregnant with my 5th child, and received some pretty hard news that I had lost a loved one. And was because I knew this information, and I know that the lungs develop at the very end of the pregnancy. That's when the lungs really develop the best and finish they're one of the last things to develop is the lungs. And so I was very conscious that I was processing my grief, that I was journaling, and that I was talking, and that I was sitting with it in a space where I could move through it so that it didn't affect my unborn child, and that she wasn't born with inhibited lungs because I wasn't able to process my own grief. And so that was really beneficial for me in that time of my life, to see that I was aware of this situation. And she could have been born with asthma. She could have been, and not that everybody born with asthma has grief untransformed by their parents, but it can happen, right? It's an availability thing. And so I was able to transform that grief into something, and I created, in that time I had this craft I was working on, and it was pretty involved, and I was really pouring myself into the craft to transform that grief and channeled it through that. So it turned into a beautiful moment through a horrific time, which I think is something we can do. We can exist with good and bad at the same time. This was a positive thing that I did as I was going through a hard situation. Again, metal, autumn, white, lung and colon, nose opens to the nose, and the emotion is the grief. So the last one is water. The water element is the winter season, and it is very, very dark blue, almost black, and is the color. And it is the kidney bladder is the yin yang pair, and it opens to the ear, and the emotion is fear. So people that struggle with tinnitus or vertigo, we look at the kidney bladder relationship and what's going on there is our starting point. We look at the whole body, and you'll see in a minute that everything is incorporated, but we'll start with the kidney bladder. And then fear kind of makes sense. A lot of times we get scared, we pee our pants, and so the bladder's like, I'm out. I'm not taking care of this. This is too much for me, and it takes off. So that is the elements, and so some really basic things about the elements. Now there is a creation cycle. There's a mother-son. In Chinese medicine, everything's beautiful. Everything has lovely names and really fun things to look into. So there is the creation cycle is the mother-son. So you have your fire element, and again, that's that small intestine and heart. We'll just focus on those two. And it is the mother to the stomach. It is the mother to so the fire is the mother to the earth, and it's the stomach and the spleen. And the earth is the mother to the colon, to the metal. The earth is the mother to the metal, which is the colon and the lung. Metal is the mother to the water, which is the kidney and bladder. Water is the mother to the wood, which is the gallbladder and the liver. And then wood is the mother to the fire. And so they create one another. And you can see this in nature. When you have a fire, it creates ash. Ash turns to earth. When you have earth and it gets compacted and it forms different things, you can get metal. Like you can see how that could happen. And then metal dissipates and creates water. You've got it's kind of a loose translation. I'm not really sure on that part right now, but just go with it for a minute. Water creates wood. It waters the wood, the tree grows, and then wood burns and creates fire. Okay? Now we've got the control cycle. And that is when the grandmother steps in and controls the grandson. And so you have the fire and the earth and the metal. Well, the fire is going to control the metal. It's going to say no, and it's going to melt the metal. Well, the metal is the grandmother, because you've got the water and the wood. The metal is the grandmother to the wood, and so it will use an axe or a chainsaw and cut the wood. And the wood, fire, earth, the wood is the grandmother to the earth. And so it's going to, as the wood holds the ground in place, it prevents erosion, right? The roots of the tree are going to help to control that. And then you've got the earth, the metal, and the water. Here you've got the earth, it controls the water. And so you've got a riverbank that holds it in place. Now, water does erode and it does take care of it, but for the most part, the river holds it for the earth will hold it in place and keep it going. And you can see this in your own garden when you plant a furrow. It'll stay in that way for a little while. And then finally, you've got the water. Here's the water. The mother is the wood, and then the son is the fire. The grandmother water will put the fire out. It will control it. And I'll just show you this really quickly so you can see what I'm talking about. There is the control cycle is the circle, and the star, the creation cycle, the mother-son, is the circle. The control, grandmother to the son, grandson, is the star. You can see all that really quickly. So that is super basic 5-element, really, really running through that super fast. And then we'll go into the nutrient cycle. So like we mentioned, qi is the life force and the energy that goes through, and it has different ways that it cycles through the body. One of those ways is the nutrient cycle, or the chart of general circulation of qi. So this is a 2-hour increment that it goes through each one of the organ systems, and this is when it's most ideal to work on that system. So it starts at 1 and 3 in the morning, and from 1 to 3, it's in the liver. And in the liver, it's cleansing the blood. The blood cleanses. It cleanses the blood to cleanse the body. Okay, so we want to be asleep from 1 to 3. Preferably, we want to be asleep much earlier, but for sure, this happens while we are sleeping. So 1 to 3 sleeping time is ideal. And then it goes into the lung from 3 to 5. So we're going to go liver, lung, large intestine, colon, is what I call it, stomach, spleen, heart, small intestine, bladder, kidney. Heart constrictor is that heart envelope. Triheater is that triple warmer or sanjiao. And then you've got the gallbladder and back up to the liver. So as we just go around the clock, you can see. So in the lung, traditionally, monks would get up from 3 to 5 and do their deep breathing and meditation and clear out the lungs and get things going. And then from 5 to 7, they would have a good bowel movement and get things moving that way, do some movement, some more Tai Chi to get the body going. And then the stomach, it's 7 to 9 is in the stomach and 9 to 11 a.m. it's in the spleen. And that's a great time to have your biggest nutrient dense meal because so much energy and chi is focused in those two organ systems. And so you're able to get the most from your food at that time. Contrastly, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the least amount of chi in those organ systems in the stomach and spleen. And so you're getting very little from it, and it's pushing the body harder, and it's keeping food in your gut longer. And so come liver time, your body's still working on digesting. If you're eating at 11 p.m. or even later, then your body's still working on digesting that. And so it's not doing what it needs to do in the other organ systems. And so our culture really loves intermittent fasting, and I support it. I think it's lovely. I just think we need to flip it. And I think we need to eat breakfast in the morning and then taper it off as the day goes. So there's a saying that says, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. And when we stick with that, we can still intermittent fast that way and work with our Chinese clock so that we can have the best nutrient absorption that we possibly can through the stomach and spleen from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then so as you use this as a diagnostic tool, if somebody comes in and they say, I am waking up at 3 a.m. every morning, you can look at it and you can see, well, that's right when the qi is going from the liver to the lung. And so what imbalance is happening there with the liver and the lung? Is it more the liver? Is it more the lung? What's happening there? And we can work through that kind of thing. Also, like someone's having severe stomach pains at 11 p.m. It's like, well, there's no energy, there's no chi in the stomach and spleen at that point. What is missing that's hurting that, So we can look at the time. It's a great diagnostic tool if something's happening and you have noticed that every day at this time, something happens and you can notice it. And in your meditation, you can ponder and you can think and you can ask your body, what's going on? How can I support you? Why are we waking up at this time? Does it have to do with my kidney? And what does it have to do with my kidney? And having that conversation with your body is really impressive because our body does know a lot. And we've been conditioned and trained to believe that someone else has to tell us what's wrong with us, when really we have the tools inside of us to change and to grow and to learn. And so really tuning in and saying, hey, what's going on here? Because you're in your body and you can feel what's going on. So that is the clock, super beneficial. And these are tools you can just Google, Chinese medicine clock, The next one is tongue and pulse. So doing tongue diagnosis, you stick your tongue out. You just swallow and stick your tongue out. Looking at the tongue, you can see the basic color of the tongue. You can see the coat. If there's a coat, if it's thin or if it's thick, you can see if the tongue is puffy and has scallops on the side. You can see if there's fissures that run down the center line or fissures that go side to side. You can see if it's wiggling, if it's got like a little tremor. You can see if there's a deviation off to one side. There's so much you can tell in the tongue. So really quickly, there's a couple different things that we're looking at. When we look at the tongue, the outside of the tongue is the external pathogens, and then the inside is the internal. So we can see if what's going on is external or internal. And then you have the tip is the upper, then you have the middle, and then the lower is way in the back. So that's just your upper burner, middle burner, lower burner. You can see kind of basic of that. And then it breaks it down even further into the organ systems. And so the tip of the tongue is the heart, and then right behind it is the lung, and then right behind that is the stomach spleen, but the sides are the liver and the gallbladder. And then way in the back, you've got the colon and the small intestine, and then you've got the bladder and the kidney super far back. So when somebody swallows and sticks out their tongue, you can see what organ system is needing to be addressed and which one is the most affected right now. And that's a really great diagnostic because it's just fun to start right there and say, hey, what's going on with this? And it gives us abilities to ask questions. We ask a lot of questions. What does this look like? How does this feel? Where are we going with this? What happened here? And just really ask questions and get some things taken care of. But again, you can swallow and stick out your tongue every single morning and every afternoon and every evening, and you can watch how it changes throughout the day, throughout your mental capacities, like when you're overly stressed, how your tongue will change, with foods you've eaten, sleep or lack of sleep you've had, it will adjust in your mouth. You will see a difference in your tongue, and that's kind of cool. Now, pulse is even more, so looking at the tongue is objective. You can look at the tongue, you can see what's going on with the tongue, and it makes it so that it's objective. They can't argue with the fact that that is a white tongue versus a purple tongue, right? Like, not a lot of purple tongues, but they had some candy. But pulses are subjective. And so when I say that that pulse is wiry or tight or guitar-like, those are three different types of pulses. And what I think is wiry, you might think is tight. And what I think is tight, you might think is a guitar string. So really, pulse diagnosis can take years and years of practice. And the best way to do it is just to feel your own. So we feel at three different places, and you just place your, it's easy if you face your hand towards you and grab it like this. But I can't show you that. So these three fingers are going to go right here, and right here at the base of where your thumb meets your wrist right there is 1, 2, and 3. So your three fingers go here, and then we're going to push all the way in until it stops, and then we're going to lift it off a little tiny bit, and that's your deep pulse, and then you're going to lift off a little bit. That's the middle pulse, and then the top. So as you're looking at your pulses, still on tongues. There's my paper. Okay, so put your hand towards you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 depths. You can feel what's going on. Now your left wrist is your heart, your liver, and your kidney, and your right wrist is your lung, spleen, and vital fire. So you can just feel, go all the way deep and cut them all off. And it's tricky because this finger doesn't go, like we have to train it to have the same pressure. And so you're working on that for a little while too. So go all the way down and occlude the vein and then lift it off. And you can feel in all three of those areas, and then go up a little more, and then up a little more to where you're just barely touching kind of. And then you can do the other side. So you can practice these on yourself, feeling your own pulses. But just for your reference, some of the things we look at are floating or sinking, slow or rapid, surging, forceful, overblown, weak, thready, faint, string tight, taut, wiry, cord tight or tense, relaxed, loose, soft, slippery, hesitant or uneven, knotted, intermittent, running. Like those are just some of the ways that we look at the pulse. So there's a lot that can go into pulse diagnosis. I personally have not done a whole lot of pulse diagnosing. Most of my clients just want the hands-on stuff. They don't want the theory. They don't want the other stuff. They don't want the diagnosis. They just want me to work on their body. And so I've really had to work hard to get what I do have. And it's something that I would like to continue doing in the future, to practice more with diagnosis, with pulse diagnosis. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you just a couple of points. Now, in mathematics, a point is a fixed space. It's just a dot. There's no dimension to it. When we talk about accupoints, then it's a hole. It's an opening. It's something that's there. And so we're going to start. If you've ever seen anybody doing this with their pencil, like they're taking a test or they're thinking, and they just start to do this, they're stimulating governing vessel 20, which is on the top of the head. So if you take your hands and you're going to place your wrist right here on the top of your ears on both sides and bring it together on the top, where it lands is governing vessel 20. And so you're just going to hold it. Now, we haven't really talked. You can do tiny little circles. You can press down, and you just do a little bit of pressure. So all of the organ systems have an organ proper, except We talked about the Sanjiao or the triple warmer and the heart envelope, but there's also the conception vessel, which runs down the midline of the body, and the governing vessel, which runs down the back side of the midline of the body. So anterior midline, posterior midline. And then it does not have an organ proper in the body. And those are the things that you're looking at right here. All of the other organ systems, except the conception vessel and the governing vessel, because they are on the midline, all of the other ones are bilateral. So the lung channel starts right here on the inside of the arm, right here on the chest, and it goes down the arm and out the thumb. And it goes down the arm and out the thumb on both sides. And so you'll have the organ systems on both sides of the body. You'll have everything left and right, and then you have throughout the whole body. So governing vessel 20 is the first one that we're going to do. Again, wrists, touch it. That's where the point is. And I mean, there's points all along here, so it's not like you're messing it up if you're on the wrong one. This is a point right here, which is lovely. And it is, I can't even remember if it is, it's just an extra point, but we call it the unicorn point. It's lovely. Okay, take your elbows, put your elbows on the table, put your thumbs right here where your eyebrow starts, and you can feel there's a tiny little groove, a little hole. And you're just gonna land in that hole and just kind of rub tiny little circles and press in and up kind of, so you're feeling it. And when we're doing points on other people, you can practice this. You can have your friend or your neighbor or your child or whatever lay down. Then we use our second fingers. Our first fingers are our colon fingers, and we don't want to put our crap, our poop, into other people. Our colon. We don't want to put our colon contents into other people energetically. So we use our second finger and we pull, and you're standing, they're laying on the floor and they're behind, and you're pulling up towards it, and you can feel it really good right there, which is why this on yourself works really good. Okay. The next one is colon 4. Now, when you have headaches, people say rub right here, which is great. But if you want to get really, really good into that point, you're going to hold it in front of you like this. And where the thumb and the first finger come together, at the end, right down there, there's a little puff. And you take that little puff and you push down. So I'm going straight down. I'm not going in. I'm just going down. So you hold this in front of you about stomach level and just push straight down. And people don't even know what you're doing. And you're just stimulating that point with some little bit of pressure, and then a little bit of circles, little rubs, and a little bit of pressure. You do not want to, when you're working on points, you don't want to go in hard and hold it really tight and push, the harder the better. That is not the case. Then your body will reject it and your body will freak out. You want to massage, you want to work it, you want to open up the area, not be crazy. So you're pushing it, you're holding it, and you can feel it. And you can do it on the other side and feel that one. Okay, this one is also, governing vessel 20 is also a good grounding point. So if you feel like you're up in your head and you can't calm down and you just need to ground a little bit, this is a good point for that. This is a good point. I totally skipped this part. This is on the bladder channel. So the bladder channel starts right here on the inner canthus of the eye. That's bladder 1, and this is bladder 2. And then it goes over the head and down both sides of the neck and back. And so we use this point. All of the points help locally. This is going to help with any headaches, eye strain, sinus problems. You're going to push this point. But then also it's on that bladder channel. So everything that the bladder channel needs, it's going to take care of. And it opens up the whole channel. So the neck and the back are much more receptive to things because we've been pushing this bladder too. And that's awesome. Colon channel, this is the colon 4. It's the great eliminator. This is the one that helps with headaches, stomach aches, lots of different aches and pains and problems in the body. It is contraindicated for pregnancy, so you want to be really careful with that one. The next one, we're going to look at our feet, and you're going to go underneath. This is tricky because, okay, so here's my big toe, and you've got your bone right here. You're going to go underneath that bone and in just a little bit, and you can grab it. It's easiest with the thumb on the same right hand thumb on the right hand thumb on the right foot, and just rub in there. It's the middle of the foot and right below on the inside there. That's kidney 1. That's also a very good grounding point. That's also a really good point for just feet pain in general. It opens it all up. So really, like, anytime you've got pain, rub it. You know, you've got some knee pain, rub it, massage it, wiggle it, get some stuff in there, because you've got points all over your body and you're just stimulating those points. So it helps locally where it's at, and then it helps on the channel with what's going on. Now, stomach 36 and spleen 6. So the way that we measure in body work is we use our hands. And so when I'm working on myself, my hand works, right? But the other day I was working on a gentleman and his 4 fingers were my whole right here, right, with my thumb, okay? And so I needed to measure that. So you're just, someone's on your table or you're working with someone and you just kind of casually see if their hand is bigger or smaller than yours, and you adjust and find the point that way. So stomach 36, if you bend your knee, right here's my kneecap, and I'm going to take my outside hand and I'm going to put it right here because that's going to be at that diagonal that I want right there. This is where the point is for stomach 36, okay? And I'm going to use, again, my second finger, and I'm going to go in this way and pull that way. Now, I want to combine this with stomach 6, or no, this is stomach 36. I want to combine it with spleen 6. So here I am. This is super fun. I don't know if I can move this way. Maybe I can move you. Let's move you over a little bit. Okay, spleen 6. This is my ankle, my medial malleolus. This is the top of that bone, and it is 4 fingers up above that. And I'm going to use this finger, and I'm going to go up. Okay, so I've got my spleen 6 here by my ankle, and my stomach 36 here, and I'm going to use my second finger, and I'm going to pull in. So as I'm stimulating the point, I'm going like this so that it is putting pressure on that way. So stomach 36 is called foot 3 mile, which they used to push to go through when they would go on a journey. And so they were getting really, gives you energy, gives you life force. And the stomach's combined, so stomach 36 combined with spleen 6 is just a really good invigorating, get it done kind of point. So you can wake up in the morning and you can manipulate those and get them moving and going, and you can have just a little bit more energy. So we have a little less reliance on stimulants in our life. We can use our body and the energy that we have to create more energy and to get more done. How's that? Okay, so we have gone over a lot in this class. Just as a reminder, we did wholesome versus reductionism. We did the 8 limbs of Chinese medicine and ways that you can start working on yourself and getting the results that you would like with your body. We went over the 8 sources of disease and focused on the yin-yang theory. We did 5-element theory. And then we talked a little bit about nutrition, the temperature, direction, and flavor of your food. We talked about tongue diagnosis, pulse diagnosis, and I showed you a couple of points that you can use on your own life. And it's so exciting. So I hope that this was beneficial for you. It's about an hour. We're at 57 minutes right now. So in about an hour, that's a very brief overview. I would love to talk to you more about Chinese medicine and how it can help you, and just go into depth. I'd love to teach you some Tai Chi so that you can practice in your own home. Also, all of these things are Googleable. You can find lots of information. You can get really great books that have points in them. You can get really great books that talk about eating with the seasons and staying healthy with nutrition, like lots of ideas like that. So if you want to find me, I am at KathleenTaylorWellness.com. I do live in Idaho, so if you're just outside the Boise area, you can come and find me, and we can do a one-on-one session. We can talk about stuff. I have several certifications. So I do Asian bodywork, which is AMA therapy, and I do nutritional counseling. I am a mind-body coach. I am a mental wellness facilitator, a mind-body facilitator, mental wellness coach. Gotta mix those up. And I am currently studying spinal flow. And so that one is to open up the spine and the wave that happens in the spine to facilitate healing in the body. So I also do 9-point, which is a muscle release. So I have 3 different modalities for the body. I have ideas for the mind. I do a lot of training. I do cooking classes. I do just talking about food and nutrition. And I love to be an accountability partner. So if that's all you need is somebody that you can text and say, hey, like we set up the goal that you're working on, and then you just text me and say done, or send me a check mark that says you did it, and I send you a star. It's fascinating how much that little star means and how much people stay motivated when they have somebody to check in with. So if all you need is an accountability partner, I'm your girl. Hit me up, send me a message. We will talk, and I can do that for you. And if you want to get in for body work, let me know. If you want to take some more classes, I'm going to start recording classes that you can do for the Chinese medicine side of things. I'm going to have classes for the mindset. I do work with Rare Faith. I'm a facilitator for Rare Faith, and so I work with them and go through their classes, which are fantastic. And if you have not read The Jackrabbit Factor by Leslie Householder, that is a fantastic place to start. There is a free link on my website for a free book. You can do the audiobook, you can do the ebook, but it is free. She has 3 books right now, and they're all free. There's The Jackrabbit Factor, and there is The Portal to Genius, and Hidden Treasures, Heaven's Help for Your Money Matters. So great resources. Let me know how I can help you. I just love sharing information, and I love helping people to feel better. And I hope that this hour that we spent together has been beneficial for you. Again, you can rewatch it. You can go over it and over it. Or you can just come in and meet with me, and we'll chat. Have a lovely day. Thanks for being here.